Welcome to this episode of Getting My Cheese Back on My Cracker. I am Ashley Nicole.
And I'm Paige Benjamin of Atomic Travels. And in this episode, we're going to talk about our youth. More importantly, providing them with the health outlets that we did not have growing up. Healthier upbringing and communication can help our youth skip the broken learning phases and go directly to thriving. We are going to be talking about the ways that we can build our youth. Let's meet our panel and get into it. Sister Caitlin, tell us who you are and what do you do?
Oh, me, Kitia. Okay.
Kitia, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, I'm Kitia. I was born and raised in Haiti, like I said. So my background is nursing. So I was a nurse for about 13 years. That was while going to nursing school. So I did get diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. So I continue on, and 7 years ago, so I stopped working because I couldn't. The disease impacted my limbs, my lower extremities. So I use a wheelchair, but I don't let that stop me. I was married. I have 3 kids, three beautiful children, twin boys and a daughter. So I'm a single mom, raising them the best that I can. So right now, I'm a credit restoration specialist. I help people fix their credit. So I refuse to give up in life, no matter what life takes throw at me. So I took it and turned it around. So I'm doing the best that I can. So then COVID had happened. So I lost my mom and my sister. So this week had been hard for me, very hard, because it was a year ago that I lost both of them, a week apart from each other. So I'm just trying to stay strong right now. But God is good. So just keep me in prayers, you guys.
Awesome.
Times are hard right now. Thank you. And I'm happy to be with you guys tonight.
Okay, Miss Jacqueline.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Jackson, better known as Jackie. I am the executive director and founder of the Royalty Project, which is a cultural enrichment initiative with the intention of building positive self-awareness, self-esteem for youth of color. I also am the chief operations officer of the New York Urban League. Happy to be here.
Okay, Mr. Ramon.
How you doing, everyone? My name is Ramon Daly. I'm one of the board members of the Royalty Project, Inc. I'm also an educator. I've worked with middle school youth for almost over 20 years. I also organize historically Black college tours for students in New York City and the tri-state area, where we could travel for a week and visit the HBCUs from all the way from like Tennessee all the way back up to the DC area.
Okay, and Mr. Copeland, if you're able at the moment. I guess we'll have to bring Mr. Copeland in back.
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Who are you? And yeah, introduce yourself. What do you do?
Oh, my name is Copeland Richards. I am currently the owner of Chipinity Trucking Company. I am a father to a brand new 3-year-old, and I'm just a guy.
Okay.
Nice to meet you
Okay.
guys.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have all of y'all here. I want to go ahead and jump into the first part of the discussion. So Black children are overly punished and underdiagnosed with mental health behavior disorders. We all are familiar with the phrase that it takes a village to raise a child, but what does that mean to you? How does that look in our community, and what impact does that have on our mental health?
Well, with the Black child being kind of over penalized, I see that a lot in education, and it happens a lot even amongst our own. Sometimes during my career, one of the things that I do in terms of being a part of the village that raises that child is that each year that I've taught, I decided to adopt, quote unquote, one kid that's the active young man or young lady, in that school building, and try to start building some kind of bond with them so that they have an outlet to vent, they have an outlet to take the time out. They have an outlet to confide in, so that we can give advice, and they actually listen and take it. So, just see, you can't do everything, but if you choose one noble project, one or two young people, I think that'll help.
Mhm. We freestyling, so anybody can
Yeah,
answer.
anybody can answer. Yeah, it's an open floor now.
Oh, okay. Well, we know in our community we tend to downsize mental health a lot,
Mhm.
especially amongst our youth. And I don't think a lot of time we don't pay much attention, and sometimes we tend to put it off and, oh, this kid is acting up, or we never looked at it like visualize it as it could be more than just that child being misbehaving. So I've seen that a lot, especially here. We tend to punish our children, especially. Uh, we don't seek for the help that they need. We tend to put it off because we're so afraid of the stigma, or putting our child or labeling child. I know, especially in my community, we tend to do that a lot. They don't like for their kids to be labeled, so they try to put it away or put it aside. And we do believe that prayer can cure everything. Yes, prayer is good, but you do have to do the work as well. So it's important to look for the sign and seek for help for the children, because a lot of time it's more than just like this child acting up, or this child is just seeking attention. I think if
Right.
we take the time to assess and evaluate and looked at the kid as a being, instead of, you know what, ah, that's my kid, there's no way, nothing is wrong, and we let the problem continue. And before you know, it gets out of hand, because suicidal is very high right now among the youth. So I'm happy that you guys are joining together to discuss that and to bring it to light. So I'm glad to be here, be a part of it. So if we join together, maybe we can create a solution for the children. Thank you
Right.
for now.
The phrase "it takes a village to raise a child" to me means um, the parents of that child have support. The parents of all children have support. The whole burden of raising the child and being a role model and setting examples and exposing them to what the world has to offer and propelling them um, into the people that they are to be is not just on the parents. The youth, as well as the other adults, or whoever else is a part of that village, get to be a part of that child and those children's lives. It's a communal way of being responsible and honoring a commitment to raising a child. It's support for the parents, and it's also an opportunity for the youth to have so much more exposure than just their immediate household.
The
Okay.
village part. Let me say one thing about the village part. Going back home over here, I tend to see that the term "it takes a village" doesn't really apply here in America. Because back home, when you were growing up, when we said it takes a village, it does, because your parents are not always home. So that's been, you got everybody's looking out for you, whether your church, your neighbor. So you don't need to worry about your kid. Versus here in America, you always so afraid of your neighbor, and we're not open. So back home, when I was growing up, so everybody's my tati, everybody's my auntie. So if my mom's not here, regardless there was food at home, I will eat, because my mom will make sure to let the neighbor know, oh, I'm not here, look out for the child. So that's how it is. So in our community, it tends to be different when I come here versus here, because you owe everybody respect, not only respect, and they have the right to discipline you. And in a lot of ways here it's different here, because if you're not family members, those child, they don't tend to respect you, they don't owe you respect. Oh, I don't know you. Versus where I came from, it's not like that. So
Well,
you
I think
I think that's a vast generalization, and I think that's not fair to say about all of America. I think there are parts, and I think there are certain parents that may feel like, yeah, I want to be responsible for raising my child in only my immediate circle, but I didn't grow up that way. My whole block raised me, my church raised me. There were other people in my school, in my community. I grew up in Jamaica, Queens, and in the community that I was raised in, it did take a village. My mom was working a lot. And so she counted on my neighbors and some other friends and some other family members to play a role. I was also included in after school activities. I was in, drama. I was in basketball, and I was in heavily in the church. So those institutions, those communities played a part in raising me. And I do see that in a lot of people, in a lot of kids, in a lot of different places. It's not as common. It may not. I don't know. I'm not from the Caribbean, but I do know a lot of people who are and who consider that nostalgia of having that readily accessible in a way that has no fear to be wider spread. But it's not that it's not happening here. So I would argue to say that that's not the case.
So I think she said, so one of the things that I kind of wanted to bring up when she said that was, last season we had the conversation Blackity Black, right, where there are people that come here that don't necessarily always get the reception of community, right, of village. And so it's rare you find, and I'll use your one of your closest friends as an example. It's rare you find a Haitian family assimilate into the Black community, right? Because a lot of the times, if we're talking about the 80s and the 70s and the 90s, it was almost darn near impossible to admit you were Haitian, right? And so a lot of us kind of kept that animosity and didn't assimilate into the communities. Now, is that a lack thereof? Not necessarily, but if you didn't feel involved, and this is Sister Katia's personal experience, right? So based on a personal experience, and I know from my personal experience, it took a while for us to build a village, right? My mom, Sister Katia, my mom, you've met my mom. Her accent is so heavy. At the beginning, we would be told, well, we don't know what she's saying. Can you translate? You have a 5-year-old translating somebody's, somebody who's speaking English, because there was a level of ignorance towards people of foreign descent, right? Or towards immigrants. So I agree with both of you. There is community, and there is the not being accepted or allowed to assimilate into a community to feel as though that there's a village. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yeah, I just want us to be careful to not be absolute. And, like when we speak, we have the tendency to be like, my experience is the experience. And I just want to make sure, just represent the perspective from a Black American, that there are communities that are happening here, and there are villages that are happening here.
Well, I would also say that we can't say that her experience isn't valid. Right.
No. And that's not what I'm saying. Right. And if I came across that way, please forgive me. I did not intend to say that at all. I just wanted to represent for the communities that are happening here, because oftentimes Black Americans are seen like, from people who migrate here, other Black people who migrate here, there's this sense that we don't establish community. And that's not fair to make a blanket statement like that. That's not.
It's not like you guys don't establish community. No, I don't take it wrong at all. That's why we're here. We're gonna learn from each other. Right. And then I just learned from you. I didn't know. There's a lot of things that I don't know. I came here in '95. When I came here, it was Haitian on the side, Black American together. I was afraid. '95. I was afraid to be here. Once school is over, I have to rush home because I was afraid somebody's gonna beat me up. We all were Black, so once we learn to accept each other as one, and I think we will create a better community. There's no Black American, Haitian American, Jamaican American, or whatever. We are Black. To the eye of the white folks, we just Black to them. It doesn't matter. I might have an accent, you have accent. We're just Black. It doesn't matter. They're not gonna treat you any different than they will treat me. So that's all there is to it.
I also want to wanted to touch on, I know I hear it a lot, and like Jackie, I'm American. I'm generic, great value black person from Mississippi. We had a village, and
Right.
it was all my family, aunties, uncles, distant relatives, people I don't even think we were actually kin to, but they were cousins, somebody, aunt, somebody. I noticed nowadays a lot of people attribute the loss of the quote unquote village by the inability to discipline other people's children or the inability
Mm.
to do other things that like kind of would be frowned upon. And I know that me growing up, one of the reasons that I was one of those children was because of how my mother grew up with people just disciplining her all over the place. Do you think that our views on discipline have negatively affected our village?
No,
And
I
also,
don't.
Can I say
I don't.
something about that, please?
Go
please.
ahead,
So,
brother.
Oh yeah.
so I don't think that our views, and I thoroughly enjoyed that little back and forth because both points were very, very true. And one of the things I don't think that we realize in America is that many of our views are not our own.
Mm-hmm.
Many of our
Right.
views are not our, the way that we treat other people. So I'm a Caribbean, my parents are Caribbean, but I'm American. So I have that understanding of culture that I grew up here. And
Mhm.
I grew up here as a little smart kid who didn't have an accent. So if I didn't tell you I was Jamaican or Caribbean, I wouldn't get treated that way. But as a young kid, I watched as Africans were called African booty scratchers, while foreign-born black people who didn't speak English properly were treated a certain way because we have to remember that America is a completely different culture, and this culture was created by somebody. It was created by somebody, it perpetuates itself, and then it actually goes to trick the oppressed into supporting it. So there is now, black people in general are, I think, on the spectrum more communal. So there are definitely going to be pockets where we are developing community, where we do have friends who are having kids, and we are building that. But we build it with a sense of fear that has been instilled into us as Black Americans, where we do not allow outsiders to come in. And in the Black diaspora, we do not see each other as each other. We see each other just as others. Africans are Africans, Americans are Americans, and that is all by design. Because there is as I'm listening to the two of you talk about village, I can feel, regardless of what you're talking about, I can feel how important that is to you. It was important to you that you didn't see it, and it was important to you to make sure that you let everybody know that you had it, because you guys could do it. It is very, very important. But our society, this European society, is all about individuals. It's about doing you, getting yours. As a Black person in America, if you want to be a millionaire and you want to go do it and be selfish and oppress people, you will have no pushback. As soon as you start trying to create a group and start working for the community, you are going to be targeted. You are going to die. People don't understand why everybody's so upset that this Black Lives Matter lady, but it's not your personal thing. It's the fact of the matter that you are no longer an individual. You are now an organization. And there has not been not one in all of Black America's history that has treated us fairly and done us correctly. And so we have to remember that all of our experiences, the first verse of the Tao Te Ching says, the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. What that means is that anybody who names something, it's just your perspective. But until we get all of the perspectives, we don't really see the truth. And the system that we are living under has done the greatest job of putting us on opposite sides of the ball so we don't see each other's experiences, and then we end up fighting. I'm going to yield my time for now.
And that's not just reserved for different ethnicities. That's not just reserved for different ethnicities. That happened to us as Black Americans before the mass migration of other people from other places and countries and continents. The term African booty scratcher was not reserved to Africans. I was called that as a Black, as a young Black girl growing up in Jamaica, Queens. It wasn't just reserved for people. Like, colorism is probably the larger issue, and that's global. It's not just in America. It's not just in New York City. It's not just in the places that we all frequent. It's a global issue.
No, I agree 150%. But what I'm saying is that the creation of that issue was created by the European colonial institution. And it was created so that the lesser people, because there's way more of us, and they do understand the art of war. They understood.
Divide and conquer. You are absolutely right, brother.
So,
that is definitely an orchestrated plot to disseminate us. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know it's not reserved to any one people, but what I've realized is that oppressed people, as soon as they've been given some power, they then go to oppress another person, unless, of course, they do the internal work and get to a certain state. But the average person isn't doing that. They don't have time for that. That's why we're here having this conversation about mental health, because the average person doesn't care about mental health.
We lost
him.
We lost him.
He was getting good too.
He was getting good. So we want to. So I think Ramon wanted to say something, and we actually want to go to a talking point.
In terms with regards to Ashley's comment about not being able to discipline another person's child, I think that all of us, whether you're Caribbean or you're from the South or Black American, we've evolved in terms of our level of discipline. And if you're going to go in that route, as a teacher, I would always use the analogy that you can't make a withdrawal unless you've made deposits in terms of children.
Right.
And if you don't have a relationship, a rapport, you don't put some time in, you may have to eat some humble pie dealing with that child. But once you put that investment, there's a time that comes that you're going to make an ass of that young person, and they're going to respond to you. One of the things that I would apologize for, and I wouldn't see anyone apologize, I wouldn't, let's say it's my first period class, I wouldn't discipline a child in my class unless I properly greeted them first. I don't want to come in and say, hey, take out your pencil. You didn't always, you never always take it out. But then I have to stop and say, hey, you know what? I didn't greet you. How you doing? You good?
Yeah.
Just get your pencil out, let's move on. But just building a relationship and making some investment in that young person, you can start to form that. And then that young person goes home and talks about you to a parent or a family member. And then come time for parent-teacher conference, it's an easier conversation. And then now you guys can work together to make plans for that young person's life.
So I want to ask this follow-up question. And Jackie, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. And if each of you can kind of touch on it, what did your village look like coming up? Like, were you able to actually, as a child, acknowledge the village that was around you?
My experience as an immigrant, I immigrated to the United States from Jamaica when I was 9. When I was in Jamaica, I had a village. I had aunts, cousins, houses that I would go to. People would ask me, did you eat? Did you do your homework? Things of that nature. How you doing to school? But when I moved up here, it was a little bit different. And I'm a 9-year-old watching Emmanuel Lewis on TV, talking about people touching you inappropriately and going to tell. Crack is whack. Kids getting Staples, putting their Halloween candy and stuff like that. So village was my mother, and whatever little friends I made, but a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old can't necessarily guide each other through life. But my village was kind of gone until until probably like high school, and you have your football team, you have your coaches, and certain teachers that you get close with. So that was my village growing up. Luckily, I was scared to embarrass my mother.
Well,
okay.
My village was, I grew up with my sisters, so I didn't grow up with my parents. Because my dad left when I was like 2, my mom left when I was 7. So I grew up with my sisters and auntie and everybody and the neighbors. Everybody was before my mom left, and she actually told the neighbors, well, kids are here, they're on your hands, so now you look out for them. Because my eldest sister was like 24.
And can I pause you for a second? So can you explain what it means to leave? Because I think there's a difference in perception what leaving could mean, right? And I'm not going to speak for you, but I'll kind of explain my mom's situation. My mom left her children in Haiti so that she could come to the United States and set up shop for them. and then she went back to go get them. So there are a lot of parents that would leave and come back. In the diaspora, it happens a lot of the times. I just wanted to make sure that we clarified that so that it wasn't like an abandonment situation, right? It was they left so that they could go to the United States, start living the American dream and come back. I just didn't want anybody to misunderstand what you were saying.
Exactly. It's just mostly they're looking for a better life. Really. So when they left back home, it's not because they have nothing or frankly, when I was in Haiti, I thought I was rich. Until I came here, I realized, oh, I wasn't. Because back home, I mean, you're never exposed to a different culture, and I got everything that I need. So my parents not there. Of course, I miss them, but I know that they're sending for me and everybody else there. And I have people from Paris, Canada, all over the place. So I didn't feel like there was a lack. And it was a community. We were always together. When I came here, I was 17. They put me in a building and I'm locked up indoor. I can't go nowhere. It was cold. I mean, I missed home. Of course, I was homesick. So regardless, everybody thought like, oh, she left, but I came alone. I didn't come with my sisters. And I was always with my sisters. So I didn't know how to be by myself. And now I'm practically coming to two strangers that I didn't know. So it was hard. It's not like, oh, I came here. Oh, I was so excited. I was begging my parents to send me back. I was crying because I'm left. I've never been alone. And there was an alarm every time the battery was low. Beep, beep. I would run and go hide in a closet thinking somebody's coming. I mean, it was
how old were you when you came here?
17.
17.
I was 17. But it was
and Ramon, you were 8?
I was 9.
9.
Yeah, I was 17, but it was a totally different life. And when you come here, you have to adapt to this culture. And it's not easy. New language. I don't speak English back home. I was playing Creole. Now I have to learn this new language. And then coming here, I have to come and become an advocate for my parents. So it's not easy when an immigrant comes here to everything that they know. It's like their whole life. And then to come here in a strange world, you don't even know. I mean, people don't accept you. And then now you have to deal with, okay, Black American, Spanish. They want to fight you on top of it. Oh, not.
It's true. That's part of the experience.
Yeah.
But what I know was that I was here permanently, and I'm just going to make the best of it. And that's and I made that decision, at 9. I made friends. I started to understand people. That's what, and I started to make bonds with people, with the kids in my class. So, community started to build little by little, so I hung out with the smart kids. I got to talk I like food to this day. So I talked to the Spanish kids about the stuff they would eat and all that stuff. So a lot of it is similar. So community was created because I was determined to create it. I wanted to create something that I did have in Jamaica that I no longer had, the same way here.
Can I say something about that? Because and I apologize because when I talk, I'm usually triggered. I'm really enjoying this conversation, and when I jump in, I can just let y'all know from now on that I'm gonna be triggered. Because what I find in our community and our culture is that in order to get the basicness of needs of human beings, we have to be exceptional. The whole purpose of culture is so that traditions can be passed on without you having to truly understand the traditions in order to practice them. That's the whole and we have to fight for that. Like the whole idea of a village raising a child for me is a fight, because I know that the mental health of my people has been affected by the life that they have to live here in America. They have been trained to focus on this piece of cloth, fiber, paper that we one day, white people came and was like, hey, you have a goat over there? How about this paper? This is valuable. And we started giving them actual usable things for these papers and these rocks. And now that's the whole culture. So we wake up every morning. We don't go out with our brothers and sisters to take care of our food for the day and our livelihood and the way that we're living. We go work on somebody else's dream. whose dream is probably contributing to the oppression of the people that we just left at home. So for me, the village mentality, like I literally wrote a 3-part story lecture part about it, and it's 3 parts to it. We don't know who we are, we don't know what friendship is, and we don't understand group economics, because all of these things have been stripped from us, and they're constantly being stripped from us while constantly being reinforced in the other culture. George Washington, after watching Hamilton, I realized this that clearly. George Washington does nothing to inspire me as a 6-year-old. Alexander Hamilton does nothing to inspire me as a 6-year-old. John Wayne does nothing, but it inspires that little white boy. It gets him to be a gangster and be ready to bomb something. But then if you told me about Mansa Musa now, Haile Selassie, Shaka Zulu, and not the movie that these guys were playing back in the 80s, maybe now I'm inspired a little bit. But we don't get that, and they have these symbols everywhere. And these symbols are like the simple fact of, how do we just go to work? We had to fight to be able to wear our hair naturally. I get told to get a haircut all the time, and guess who tells me the most? Black men. Not even black women. Black men constantly tell me to get a haircut because they're reminding me about how I am perceived and how I need to look in order to be perceived in a way to be accepted enough to share what it is that I have to say. So with that, I want to say I'm honored to be here, and I'm glad that you guys didn't tell me to get a haircut or wear a suit. So, so like I apologize for my energy, because like I said, this is very, very triggering for me, because I'm afraid for my young son, because he has to do nothing wrong. He has to do absolutely nothing wrong, and a cop can have a bad day, shoot him, write it up, and walk away. He doesn't have to. I could raise him as perfectly as I want to, and somebody's bad day is going to end his life. And there's not enough of us who are willing to say to these cops, and I'm gonna let these cops know, and I'm gonna let everybody know right here, if a cop is to take my son out, you might as well take me out too, because I'm coming for you.
All right, one last thing. Can you move that string that's in front of you? Because, we want to really see your face. It was a little distracting.
That's great. It was a little distracting.
Listen, look, it was theatric.
My phone to my iPad, so I had to get everything going.
I got you. All right, Ashley.
Look at me. I'm sweating. I'm literally sweating right now.
Well, we're still, like we said, we're so glad to have you here for your viewpoints. A lot of y'all said a lot of things that were pretty good, especially with Mansa Musa, and a bunch of hitting a bunch of different topics, such as not being familiar with some things in our history. I want to ask Jackie a question. Having completed my first cycle being a TRP mentor, one of the most impactful takeaways for me was each session, how you can see how much each youth learned from the beginning to the crowning ceremony. When you initially started the Royalty Project, Jackie, how did your concept of nature versus nurture play into the development of the curriculum and the overall goal?
The concept of nature versus nurture. Well, I can tell you how it impacted it. So, our nature is to be free and to be open and to be trusting and to take risks and those kind of things. But we are nurtured or inundated with images and messaging and media about who we are as Black people and what we are to be and where we come from, that are narratives that originate from outside of the culture. So even if our nature is to be ambitious and to be fun and to be loving, we are often told that we are less than, and we are not as attractive, and we are not as intelligent, and we are all of these things that come outside of the culture. So a lot of what the Royalty Project aims to do is to reverse that way of thinking, to dispel all negative summaries of what it means to be Black. So we're trying to actually reverse nurture or re-nurture because in our nature, there are a lot of great things. In our just natural abilities, there are a lot of great things. But oftentimes we are beat down with so many negative messages that we need to be retrained. And a lot of us became aware of that. A lot of us became aware of that as adults. And we only imagined that if we knew we were the smartest, the fastest, the most beautiful, if we knew that we were great, if we knew how powerful we were when we were younger, then that would end a lot of the negative training that happened to at least between the ages of 10 to 14. So I think what the Royalty Project aims to do, I know that the Royalty Project is successful in opening up the minds of a younger person, opening up the minds of a youth to reveal, release, and reshape. And that's our mantra. So we're revealing the things that have happened in history, the ways that we were oppressed and we are systematically oppressed to this day, the ways that we're feeling about ourselves because we were told these things about ourselves. And so then we release all negative summaries of what it means to be Black, negative summaries of what it is to not be in unity, create this sense of unity in the African diaspora, and then reshape what it means to be Black for truly what it is. We are a communal people. We do support each other. We do love each other. We do exist as a tribe. We do exist as a community. And we also have achieved and will achieve and will continue to achieve, despite all the obstacles and all the challenges, amazing things. So to answer your question, or to just, to draw a conclusion within your question, the Royalty Project is fighting against nurture and re-nurturing. We are re-nurturing. That's how I would respond to that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that we're kind of trained to kind of block ourselves out of spaces, and what we're trying to do with the Royalty Project is to let kids remain free and let them understand that they belong in any space that interests them, any space they want to try out, whether they want to try it out for a short period of time or with something that they're going to look at as a vocation. With regard to mental health, that comes into play with just simple activities like, hey, let's go take a walk. Yeah. Oh, that's some stuff. White people go for walks. But that might be the thing that keeps you sane.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And as Jackie said, a lot of us, unfortunately, came into understanding that, hey, I can be anything I want to be truly and explore anything I want to explore when we were maybe in our 20s, in our 20s. Now imagine you have that understanding of the world that you can move in any space and you belong and you have a right to be in that space and you can excel in any space, and you have that at the age of 10. The world is different. Areas that are set up, you're going to be immune to. And then now you're going to have the knowledge to kind of, do like the Matrix and free other people, unplug them, free their mind.
Yeah.
So that talking about community is a different conversation, because hey, we have all these commonalities, even though we may be a little bit different.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be good here. And first off, Jackie, and yes, now I remember clearly our conversation. I just want to voice to Jackie that I want in, because what you're doing is, and I'm gonna get your email from Purge. I'm gonna send you what it is that I put together about reinvigorate. Like, I literally wrote a lecture about reinvigorating the village mentality, because I'm 40, and I've lived the life of a gypsy nomad, I've always been smart. And everybody was like, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer. Bruh, I don't like blood, and I don't like arguing with people. So no, I don't want to do that. But
says the guy that likes to argue.
No. I'd be right. I just like to make sure that the truth is heard. That's different. But our children, from what I have seen, simply with, and just having a conversation with my son's mom about the freedom, What I have seen with my son by not pushing him anywhere and just allowing him some certain freedoms. Like we have so many things in our head that have been put there. When our
Mm-hmm.
kids are phenomenal,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
This system aims to utilize their phenomenalness in an aspect, which is just their physical labor or mental labor. So they
Mhm.
want workers. They don't want us to be doing things like this. They don't want us
Yeah.
to create
Yeah.
our village because guess what? Guess what? There's one thing that a black man who has a black woman firmly behind his back will never have done to him. He will never be manipulated by a white man, and they know that. They know that
Mm.
150%. Because back in the day, when we used to have our wars, women used to be warriors right alongside of us. Our queen
Mm-hmm.
would fight with us. But guess what? When they started colonializing us, what they realized is that if she's there, he ain't listening to you. You can't come up with a great enough threat to get him to listen to you, which is what made that aspect be taken away. The woman gets taken away from the battlefield because she's strong enough to be there, but to be taken away from there and put away so that the man now has to deal with the man. And then think about all of the great Greek war stories. Two men. Why? Because the love is the greatest power in the world, in the universe. The
Mm-hmm.
love. So they had to create some sort of a love. We won't go all the way in there, but I'm sure you guys see where I'm going with this. But that
Mhm.
and what has happened in the society is we're not able to love our children anymore. Look in nature. Not all love is nice hair, you're good. No, sometimes love is wow. Pick them up, throw them over there. What are you doing? Do you not see that ditch? I've yelled at my son sometimes, and you know why I yelled at him? One reason and
Why?
one reason only. Not because he was wrong, because I was scared. He scared the hell out of me. Running towards the street, I was scared. It's not that
Wow.
that's bad behavior, it's dangerous, but I was scared. So I yelled at him, and I'm working on yelling too. But he like I always comfort him after I yell because sometimes he catches me off guard. I'd be like, "What?" But
Yeah.
I always make sure that there has to be a balance. And I realize that I do have to yell at him because sometimes it's simply a matter of breaking their energy. These kids are focused. Sometimes you just got to break that energy, but then you bring it back down. So we've been trained by these people to operate in a way that's not conducive to us at
Yeah.
all. And that's why I refuse to put my son in a school. I literally refuse. You're muted. I can't hear you, dog.
So,
I can't
Sister
Paige,
hear
you're
you.
Kate,
muted.
yeah, I got it. I gotta wear a shirt that says you're muted. Sister Kate, yeah, you're raising two handsome young men, twins, in the age of
15.
15. And you shared with me the other day that they're two polar opposites,
Totally.
right? How much of that do you feel as though is that nature versus nature versus nurture, right? Because I know in the home, you do your best, but when they go out into the world, there are things that you can and cannot control that can sometimes drive you crazy, right? So how are you dealing with, and we've already jumped into the second segment, so Ashley, if you want to share the topic on the screen, the topic of the second segment is really defining what nature versus nurture means to you, right? And so, in your personal experience, Sister Katia, what does it mean to you? Like, seeing your children be complete polar opposites, and having to deal with it.
Ah, they're totally two different kids. But luckily for me, luckily for me, when they home, I get to have them. They let the personality out. They can break down the house. But when they're outside, totally opposite. There were times the teachers would call me, they would tell me something's wrong with my Nathan. I said, really? What's wrong with him? No, he's too quiet. He needs to do this. I said, we're not talking about the same kid. this kid run the house here. So it's not every kid who's quiet has a problem. So sometimes they know that how to conduct themselves while they're out there. So while Ethan is very quiet, so even right now, Ethan is a nurturing person. Nathan would, fact, he took care of me from the time he wakes up. He looked out for me. So that's the other one. If I don't call him for the day, I might not see him. That's the opposite. If I don't call, I said, I remember I have two sons. Where's the other one? He's not gonna come. He's not gonna come. Versus Nathan, he's gonna come. He wakes up, whether it's to use the bathroom, he's gonna come and check on me. And that's something that's for me was a baby. He's been doing it. This is something really. You have some kids that were born certain ways. You can't. There's no transformation. There's no way to them. But you're gonna have some kids who's total opposite. So it's up to us. We have to accept them and nurture them the way they came, the way they come. God made them. A lot of time, their personality, their characters already formed. We don't even have to do much. You can fight. We scream, but yes, we have to draw the line. They're respectful. They don't really talk back in public. You would see them. You would say these kids don't know how to talk, but yeah, they are. When they're here, it's noise. They like yelled. We are loud family. We are loud, but in my house, I scream. But first, I mean, when we scream at our children, it's not that you trying to order them around or whatever. It's the fear. I'm a little person, and if you see them, they're like 6 feet already. So you gotta if I don't draw the line to have them respect me, so right now, I don't think I could have control because my daughter is 21. I'm very petite. I'm not tall. I'm 5'2". But Keisha's already what? 5'10". So if I didn't have them respect me from growing up, from I was bringing them up, I'm raising them here alone. Imagine.
Yeah.
I don't care how tall you are. If I said you're not going outside, you're not going. You can't
Right.
open my door. It doesn't matter. I can't run after you. I don't have to run after you. You come to me. So when you nurture, yes, it's we're nurturing them, but at the same times, it's okay to discipline them because out there, the world is waiting to destroy them, to kill them. Because once they see a black man, they just think that they're just thugs. Oh, they're just this. But you know your child, and that's why we all hurting right now. And I think the what you guys are doing is are great, especially that project. But when we start to accept us for who we are, and I think we're gonna go so far. We're gonna transform and change the world. Yes, they put a lot of negativity in us, but what about us? We're destroying our own self also. So we can't really hold everybody else responsible. Sometimes we have to take a look at us too. We need that. That's all I have to say for now.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, Copeland.
As I just got triggered. Like, what's your name? Keithia?
Kitia.
It's yeah.
Kitia. Kitia. Okay. First off, I love everything that you're saying. Like, that's absolutely 100%. I agree 100%. And I do agree to a degree that there's a lot that we have to do. But we also have to make sure that in our fixing of our situation, we truly understand our situation. I think one of the biggest things that I see go wrong, especially with, like, let's just talk about kids. There's no such thing as a bad kid. I refuse to believe that. Like, kids are not born with a demon inside of them, and maybe they are. Maybe some have mental, like real, like chemical imbalances. But then that's different. There's no bad kids. What it is bad systems. And we are in a very bad system. We are in a system that promotes selfishness. It promotes us not caring about our future, as which is as close to us as our kids. This is all promoted. We need, it's no matter what, it's our responsibility to fix it. But we cannot get caught up in the trap of blaming ourselves, especially Marcellus Wiley. He's a football player who has this show on TV, Speak for Yourself. And what he was saying is that he used to blame everything. He used to blame the fact that he's from Compton. He used to blame Inglewood. He used to blame LAUSD. But then he's seen somebody that went to Harvard, and it's like, where'd you come from? She came from Compton. Another person went to Yale. Where'd you come from? Inglewood. Another person went to Princeton, LAUSD. So maybe it's not necessarily the system, but it's maybe you're an exception. But if that's the case and you're exceptional, just be exceptional. And I agree with that. But what I'm very, very upset about, the fact is that in order to be regular, we have to be exceptional. When in the other community, if any of you have ever watched Seinfeld, people who are as neat average as the character Newman has six-figure jobs. Think about that. We have to be exceptional to make it. They just have to just exist to be there. And so for me, one of the things, like, I believe that nature and nurture, it varies. Like, there's no set formula for how things are going to affect other people. It's just different people are going to deal with your internal constitution now. We do have different ones. We have all the same parts, but you may be built differently. So different situations are going to do different things to you. But it's very hard for me. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm getting a little caught up here. So I'm going to yield my time, and we're going to move on, because I had like
Finish the thought, bro. Finish the thought.
Finish the thought.
I don't even remember what I was talking about. I just had like 40 thoughts go through. Oh, so what I'm doing. Gotcha. So one, the things that I feel like that I think is very important is that we have to not just nurture, but we have to affect our nature. I mean, the nurturing aspect of the nature, not the nature of the internal, which is the environment. So for me, I'm a trucking company. I'm only going to be hiring black people, black men and women. I focus on black men because I believe that a black man who is fully mentally healthy there's never a question of what your position is. A black man that's mentally healthy will naturally protect and provide, and not just with money, naturally. But we're not in that space because of all the mental health issues that come from our socioeconomic status. So for me, one of the things that I have to do, I feel, is to figure out ways to empower economically our people, but also mentally empower our people with the say it, Jackie, the program. Say the name.
The Royalty Project.
Royalty Project. Here we go. I told you 40 thoughts. But like, so for me, there is no verses. And black people, we have to get out of this dichotomy idea. Frederick Douglass and what's the other guy's name? Dubois. Like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. We need all of us. There is no one that's more important than the other. And we get caught up in this, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there. But what we have to realize is that while we go there, the other places are still absolutely necessary, which, again, I want to say is one of the beautiful things about this space and why I'm completely blowing off a chapter meeting for this meeting right here.
Thank you, good brother. So with that being said, Copeland covered a lot that we really want to discuss. Do you guys feel that there is too much emphasis put on nurture versus nature? I think to Jackie's point and to KTI's point and to Copeland's point, there are aspects of nurture and nature that impacts our mental health as a whole. Do you guys feel as though that we focus over one over the other too much, or society does too much?
I think as a parent, I was thinking about some of the things that Copeland said, and I think we have to be very careful about how we nurture, because sometimes we might be nurturing in the same way like the oppressor. We have to be twice as good to succeed. That's a reality. You can expose your child to that reality, but you don't want to beat them down and then now possibly limit them. You want them to be kind of creative. You want them to discover and fail on their own. So, as my son gets older, he's a teenager now, I have to kind of step back, still be there to kind of, balance him if he starts to fall too far, but still have to let him make his own decisions and try things out for himself and kind of learn on his own, rather than always keeping the leash, short. So I think we have to be very careful about that.
So I think conversations like this are very important for that specific reason, because I'm sorry, hold on.
Where you at?
Because I'm in my truck. I'm in my truck. Out here. Hey, Jackie, let me tell you something. You ain't never going to have to ask that question again with your royalty project. I don't know. You like, right, all right.
No, I couldn't see you, so you was ducking. I was like, where you at? Put yourself in the view.
Yeah, my bad. It fell. It's probably going to fall again in a few seconds. But yeah, it's very important for us to have these conversations because one of the things, like, I don't think that we dig deep enough into nature versus nurture. Because think about it. When you just, like, how often can we really have these conversations? How often do people in the middle of their grind really want to sit down and intellectualize their fight of oppression? It's very, very rare. So I think that this is spaces like this that have the divine masculine and the divine feminine in it at the same time working on the same goal is super important. This right here may be the single most important aspect of that village mentality is the adult council. How are we raising our children to further our future? What are you doing? Like, what's your skill? Because your skill is your nature, and that's probably going to go in your son. My son is, he's just like me. And I'm watching him, and I'm like, I can't. He's jumping off the couch, and I'm like, can he get hurt? No, not unless he bounces off and falls on the floor. But I mean, his bones heal. Jump on the couch, bruh. It's going to be fun. I want, it doesn't, because my number one thing, material things never matter. People matter. So I never yell at him for throwing his toys or breaking anything or anything material. The only time I ever yell at him, as I'm taking my inventory, is when he's being unkind to somebody else or not wanting to share or being selfish. Those are literally the only times, because I think that's one of, if we're nicer, Kitia, if we were nicer to you when you came over to America, you wouldn't have the idea that we don't have village. It's not that we don't have village, you were just excluded. White people got village too. They got the master, they got their country clubs. We don't even know what them things look like on the inside. So we're like, they don't be partying, they don't be chilling, they in there doing lines of white stuff, So for me, the main thing is how do we treat each other? And that's what it is that we have to teach our kids, because guess what? None of your kids are going to be stupid. Not one of them. I can hear it just by listening to you. So you don't even have to focus on their intelligence. Just don't be stupid and they'll be fine. What they don't get a lot of outside, like you said, is the love, which is probably why your son was quiet. He's like, yo, I don't mess with you. Huh? Y'all don't love me. You don't care about me. I'm not talking to you. You know how many kids I know that intrinsically do that? They don't care what you know until they know that you care. That's how kids work. That's how we work, because we're still kids. I didn't even know what I was doing here today. But guess what? Bird told me to come, so I'm coming, because I know that he knows me. He cares about me. He cares about what I care about. He's never going to put me in a position that I don't want to be in. Our kids should have that same feeling about us and the people that we bring around them. Like, you shouldn't have.
It's the belonging. That's what that is. It's the belonging. It's what we all want. It's what kids want. And it even goes back to what Ramon was saying. If you can't discipline a child unless you have relationship. I think I heard a quote that said, "Rules without relationship leads to rebellion." So if you are, and actually even you were bringing this up earlier, talking about how has discipline in our youth, our kids, the fact that we are not allowed as a community to discipline our kids, change the way we treat the village. It's not that we can't discipline our kids, we just can't beat them. We just can't, we just can't beat them. There are other ways to discipline them, and especially with that belonging. And that's why in certain instances, maybe it's not the term actually time out, but it is the retraction of belonging. It is the retraction of love that is true discipline. It's true discipline when you are, especially when you are already a loving person, a loving parent, a loving aunt, a loving village member. And then something goes wrong with the child in the village and you retract that love, you retract that attention. That is discipline. So yeah, we can't beat other people's kids anymore, but we definitely can discipline them. And there are a variety of ways that may be even more effective than physically disciplining a child. And then Copeland, I cannot pass over the floor without acknowledging something that you said that is so important to the Royalty Project, so important to me, and I'm sure is important to everyone on this call and everyone that's listening. And that is the divine masculine and feminine and how powerful that is. The Royalty Project is not just a brotherhood. It is not just a sister circle. It is a joint interest between kings and queens. Everything we do is co-facilitated by a male and a female. Why? Because it's important for it's important for us to be in partnership. It's important for us as adults to be in partnership. Two, it's important for our youth to see us in partnership. If you co-facilitate, if you co-host, if you co-lead something, first you have to prepare and you have to plan. And that is the concept of what's going on here with Cheese on My Cracker without you guys even knowing it. The Black man and the Black woman running this show has to spend hours of prep and preparing in order for this to be produced. So everything the Royalty Project does, we have a male lead and a female lead prep and prepare so that they can show how to lead in a masculine and a feminine walking together. Because together we are divinity. The male and the female together in tandem, in relationship, in space, working in cooperation together is divinity.
Can I jump on that? I just want to share one story.
I left it there for you to jump on it.
I want to keep talking. I love that. This part right here to me is so important. I had a friend one day from massage school, and we were doing California things, I guess. So, and I'm just, at that point, I'm just like thinking random crazy things, and I do social experiments without people's permission. So hopefully nobody comes after me with this. So I'm like, walk down the street. When you as a woman walk down the street, you notice the way that people look at you or not look at you. When me as a man, I walk down the street, I notice how people look at me. So then I told her, we're going to walk down the street holding hands for the rest of the day. Do you know how many people, the fear of the Black man was gone, the fear of the Black woman was gone? Do you know how many people came up to us just to say how beautiful that looked? Just to say that. Like that, and mind you, I'm a single Black man and I hate the way our society is and the games that everybody, and that's mainly the reason why I'm single now, because I have to focus on my son's economic future and empire. But that our connection, they're forcing us to not be connected. And this is how they're doing it. The Black woman is on this side of the spectrum. Then you have the white male. So you have the nurturing creators of everything, and then you have the colonizers. This society was created by white men. This is undisputable fact. We know this. The founding fathers. So in order to succeed in this society, you must, to some degree, some more than others, emulate the white man. And what that has done, the fact that the Black man has been kicked down in this economy and the Black woman has been allowed to come up without us realizing it, with that you guys are having to be on a daily basis, you are having to be more and more white men. So the reaction to that some Black women have to Black men is the reaction that a white man would have to a Black man. And sometimes the reaction that a Black man has to a Black woman is the reaction a Black man would have to a white man. Like all of this is happening under the surface because we can't be brought down from our economic pursuits. I just said it for myself that I'm afraid of involving another person because of the economic pursuits that I have for my son. This is a mentality that we have that is so detrimental to us, because it's not saying that Black women can't be in the workforce. Y'all can be in the workforce. We can both be in the workforce. It's just that before you get out there, our mentality our constitution has to be unshakable so that we know why we're going out there. Because Jews, while they look white, they don't be going home and acting like white men. They be going home and being in their Torah. We have to be the same way.
So, with that said, I want to kind of bring us back into the discussion of nurture versus nature. Um, Jackie and Ramon, can you guys kind of give us a, brief understanding of how the Royalty Project helps to change the nature of what has been taught to our youth to a place where they come out better on the other side, just so that our audience has an understanding of the message and impact of the Royalty Project.
Ramon, you
Well,
look like you double dutching, so I'm gonna let you
yeah,
take it.
yeah. I don't think the first thing that I think we let them know right off the bat is that the kids intrinsically already know that they're great. There's a fear of showing that greatness, and with what we talked about in terms of releasing, we let them, we go through go through sessions that allow them to kind of peel back or tear away at those things that bind them. We talk about culture. Our sessions are culture, missing history, wealth, image, melanin, and self-expression. Culture is our first session, and one of the things that get torn away immediately is that stereotypes are unreliable. They're false. All you need is just one thing that's different, and it's no longer true. Because there's black people that hate watermelon.
Yep.
So once you put that out there, it's totally, it's totally debunked. So they're allowed to go through our process week by week, kind of stripping a chain each week. And then now they realize by the fourth session, they realize they can break those chains themselves. And they're just going along for the ride. And then now when they have we have our crowning ceremony where they receive their crowns as queens or kings, they understand that I'm ready to do battle.
So one of the things that I wanted, before you get there, Copeland, we want to make sure we emphasize the phases, right? Without just giving away the program. Copeland mentioned, the reason he's not with anybody right now is to build a legacy for his child, right? More so a fiscal aspect of things. Can you guys kind of touch on the session you guys have around financial literacy? Because, listening to the program, it's something that is amazing because you guys give them an opportunity to make choices that as adults we struggle with, right? So if you don't mind kind of touching on that where you can without giving away the sauce, that would be great, because it would give someone like Copeland the perspective of, and maybe not just Copeland, but anybody watching, the perspective of the sooner our youth understand the value that they have with the dollar in their pocket, they can do great things in this world.
For the way we attack that and teach some financial literacy is through our wealth session. They get to understand how their parents take care of them, the decisions that some of their parents have to make. Also, we teach them that it's not just about money; it's about your physical well-being. So one of the things that we say to them is that you have to save and you have to make sure that you have a gym membership. Those are one of the things that we say. Really simple, simple things, but it's part of staying healthy. The more you exercise is connected to your mental well-being as well. They get to understand that certain careers will lead to them being able to have certain experiences a lot earlier. But also, what we do teach them is that they can create a business of their own. They can create their own lane and also profit from it, but also uplift the community at the same time. And that's
the value of pursuing your dream, the value of not chasing money, and the value of time. Time is your greatest resource. So Ramon is referring to when we talk about, or when he mentioned that they get to understand what the decisions that their parents make. The wealth session is basically a real world simulation. So each youth is given a choice based on the time that they arrived at the session. Because we like to reward punctuality and make sure that we're all entering into the space in a timely manner. So you get to choose the career that you will assimilate into for this session. And that career comes with a lifestyle. The lifestyle comes with bills and expenses and debt and car payments and just decisions that you need to make about what you pay, and then decisions about how you spend your discretionary income. What are you doing to ensure that your life is a full and complete life? And then budgeting that with what you can afford. It's often the favorite session when we ask our youth at the end, and Ramon beautifully laid out all the sessions. When we ask our youth at the end, most often the answer is we ask them what their favorite session is. Most often the answer is wealth.
Well,
And one, because in our community, we don't often approach the subject of money with our children. We don't. Like we a lot of us even, a lot of us have revealed that we weren't allowed to ask about money. Like that was our parents' business. So we didn't really understand money until we perhaps went to college. In the first year, we were given that, freshman credit card that we probably still paid off for the next 10 years. So instead of us waiting for it to be their turn, we make it their turn at 10 years old, 11 years old, at 12 years old. Let's see how you make these decisions. And oftentimes what comes back is the parents will say, you know what, I don't know what you guys did in the wealth session, but there is a new appreciation for what we do as parents and how much we have to spend. There's a new appreciation for experiences rather than just things and possessions. It's really impactful, and not just identifying that there is Black wealth, or there is wealth in the Black community and Black economics, but understanding how to change the definition of wealth so that it's not just centered around money.
Wow.
So is it too late to get Sister Katia's two
My God.
15-year-olds in this program? Because
No, it's not. We've actually had 15-year-olds. Like the target age is 10 to 14, but we have a halo effect. We've had some 9-year-olds, some mature 9-year-olds, and we've also had some 15-year-olds. In our last cycle, we graduated 2 15-year-olds actually. But I would Betsy, if you want that to happen, or even if you want one of the two, like you said, one is more engaged. They're twins, but they don't have to do everything together. If you feel like you want one or both to be a part of it, I'd invite you to invite your sons to be a part.
Actually, I just pay for a financial literacy program for them. They started on Sunday. It was a 3 days course because I needed them to develop that appreciation for money, to have concept of, you don't just, as they're growing up.
No,
And
that's important.
What sometimes you can tell the kid, but when they hear it from somebody else, they could absorb it and process it differently. So, wow.
That's the value of mentorship. That's the value of mentorship. A lot of times our parents say the same thing. The parents of the youth said the same thing. I told them that. But sometimes when it comes from someone else, they may understand the value a little differently.
Yes. Yep. Wow.
I just want to say one thing before I ask. I want to say two things actually. I think that I've always had an issue with money because I understood what money was. I have an issue with power because I've never seen a powerful person. We've never seen a Mansa Musa in our day, and so I have these issues. And so, a question I would have asked before you spoke, Ramon, about getting a gym membership also, because one of the things that I plan on doing for my son is I never want him. A lot of our questions about money came from worry because we couldn't get things that we want. I never want him to worry about money. I always want him to have access to it, but I do want him to know how to utilize it well. So I think that's absolutely, because I would never go to a financial literacy anything, because I have financial literacy people. I don't want to listen to that. I don't want to talk about that. But what you guys are talking about actually interests me. So I want to say that. Secondly, I'm going to say this to you, Jackie, with Ramon listening. Now that I know that the two of you are partners, if you guys don't call me, I'm going to beat Ramon up. So Jackie, you now have. I'm not even talking.
I put in the chat. Copeland, I already got you signed up. I put in the chat the link for you to schedule the days that you're gonna mentor. That's all. Okay. And for anyone else that's interested in mentoring, we still need. So we have so far 35 youth that have, or 35 parents that have enrolled their youth into the spring 2021 cycle, which actually starts this Saturday. The deadline to apply had passed. It was Friday, but we are extending we have 5 more spaces because we have that many committed mentors that would like to see as many youth as possible get into this program and take this journey. What we ask of our mentors, because we only ask people to mentor because they are superheroes in their lives, and superheroes are busy. We have 7 weeks, 6 weeks of workshop, and then a crowning. We ask you to commit to 2 weeks. If you commit to 2 weeks, I guarantee you're going to do more. But we ask you to commit to 2 weeks. And 2 weeks meaning 2 sessions. The sessions begin at 11 o'clock promptly. That's when we let our youth into the session over the Zoom. But we as adults, we take 15 minutes before and we do a pregame so that we set the tone and set the intention for what's to come. We go over the agenda, we go over potential questions or whatever else can arise during that session. So we ask you to stay for 15 minutes before. And like Ashley asked us to stay for a few minutes after, we ask the mentors to stay a few minutes after so that we know, we do a check-in, that we're doing the right thing. The session started at 11, they end about 2, and we ask you to stay another 10, 15 minutes just so we can do a mentor powwow. That's for 2 reasons. 1, we need the feedback. 2, like-minded people need to be in communication with each other. We need to be building each other. Iron sharpens iron. We need to exist in a space and we need to create our own communities. We cannot be good mentors if we're not making sure we're good people. Look at Copeland, he's smitten. He's like, where y'all been all my life?
He's like me this time last year. It is truly awesome.
It's so amazing to me because what happens when you do things like this is that you just get validation, because what we're talking about here, the issues in our community, no matter what aspect you choose to attack it from, the issues in our community all center from the same thing. We're having the same conversations that me and my frat brothers are having. Like, we're having the same conversations that me and my friends are having. We're having the same conversations that me and some old friends are having that are being on Facebook. But we're never, what we don't have that every other community has, that Black people don't even truly understand. We don't have think tanks. So how can we possibly have a direction for our community without having a think tank? Like, we know about, people say there's this delay that everybody wants to become a part of, but that's like a secret society. We don't need a secret society. We need somebody that is out there and who is worried about the average man in our community and what it is that we can do. How can we improve this nature? How can we nurture the nature around our people so that their nature can truly come out? So I mean, y'all are on some. Y'all gonna make me curse, so I would just yield my time.
Keep it PG.
I swear you have a gift, because that's literally the next question. So I'm loving this conversation. I'm loving this community, this village that we have here.
It's a village.
Right. So aside from, I know we have the Royalty Project and we have some educators and we all work with the youth in different way. What do you think we can do to promote leveraging our village, or leveraging our village to ensure that our youth are properly supported?
Okay, so now a lot of these questions I'm noticing the answers to them are all going to happen organically once we start to get back to being a village. Because right now, if I don't even know our careers, but there's at least 3 or 4 different careers on here. 3 or 4 different careers with people who are forward thinking and entrepreneurial minded, who are now going to have the ability to not only guide the youth, but hire the youth.
Mm-hmm.
It actually really just works itself out because like Jackie said, and I realize I don't mind subterfuge, I don't mind covert operations. I love ninja operations and stuff. So I understand that by making people only commit to 2 and then getting them in there for 2, you just made a friend. You're not about to leave that friend. You're gonna
Yeah.
look forward to meeting with
That's how I
that
got
friend.
here.
So if you were to tell
Hey,
people to
bro, so that's
commit to
how I got
11 weeks, then I'm gonna be like, I ain't got 11 weeks for you. But 2, nah, I'm. You're right. I'm smitten because I'm very rarely speechless. But like with this right, I think that Ashley, what you're doing right here is doing that. You're literally leveraging the
Yeah.
village.
Yeah.
You just like there's a connection that's been made. Like these guys, I'm like a fan. Like I'm about to be a groupie for the royalty project. Like this is so simply by putting us in the same room with just it's the energy. It's once the love is there, all of this stuff is going to happen. It can't not. We wouldn't want to. You want to do it. Everybody who here doesn't want to do it.
Right.
And so I think that this is what we have to do. We have to make sure that we're talking, having that 15 minutes after the actual event, after what it is that we do. Not get so caught up in the grind that we don't sit down and check in and see where we've evolved. Like we usually will be on a project together 8 months and not talk and be completely different people at the end.
Right.
So I wanted to kind of a conversation, and I'm just gonna divulge a little bit of our conversation the other day, Copeland. So I expressed to Copeland what the royalty project was about. He was like, "Yeah, that's amazing. I really want to present this to the school board that I'm working with, and the only problem is can I be a fly on the wall, right?" And so he's like, I want to be a fly on the wall so I can kind of report back because I feel like if I get engaged, I won't be able to kind of independently report back. And so now it's great to see a complete reversal. It's like, all right, they're going to get my report at a later time. I just want to be involved. And so, it goes to show how our village is being built one step at a time. And, to kudos to Ashley for putting this platform together to allowing us to be able to do that because, Copeland would have still been like, all right, I need to send her this proposal. But now Copeland's going to be on Saturday. And he's going to be like, all right, I was supposed to be covert, but looks like I'm going to be straight up.
No way. There's no way you can be covert.
Yeah, I knew that though. Like, and I was trying to prepare myself, but sometimes I'd be lying to myself. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to Walmart and just get this soap. And I ended up with $100 worth.
$100 later.
Thing right there. So that's a large ass bowling ball set that I just happened to get for my son, and it's like I bought a whole bunch of stuff for him and his friend. So yeah, I mean, but I don't need to be. That's not something that needs to be sold to a person like me. But if you keep on talking about it, I might leap through the screen because it's like these spaces of high level thinking are very rare in our community because people just don't be thinking.
You said that before earlier, Copeland, but I feel like I lived that all my life, and maybe because we've created such a dynamic that this is normal conversation for us. This is what we do. So welcome to the tribe.
I mean, I know y'all think y'all are. They almost did it again. Y'all are special. Like and there's not a lot of special people out there, and there's even less special people that are able to congregate because they're surrounded by so much mundane and it just kind of makes them have to isolate themselves to not be taken over by it. Like I think one of my great, like, even though I wish that I had met you guys all sooner, I'm
Me
I feel
too.
like my ability to insulate myself and never, like, nothing was good enough for me to sell out to something that I didn't want to do. I didn't want to be a part of society. I was a gypsy nomad for the better part of my 20s and the early 30s. I was a massage therapist before. I was really good though. Like I was like a specialized massage therapist. Not like that, no, but like professional, like injuries and all. I was really good. But I was just doing that because I enjoyed the healing aspect of it. Like I would literally just walk through life doing what I felt like doing. And it was always the hardest thing was for me to get groups where I saw power, where I saw people who had the ability to make something shake. It was so hard for me to get them to put down that stuff for a second to worry about our kids. It was damn impossible. And so I've developed this, I just got to do it my own way. Like that's the reason why I even have this trucking company, is to be able to affect it that way. But like this, I mean, yeah.
So, Sister Katia, having heard what we've talked about, right? Um, you know, what are some of the things? Because I noticed that because you haven't had the village, you've had to go out and find the resources yourself, right?
Mhm.
What are some things that you think can be done, at least for yourself, to kind of expand your network? Because one of the things that I know for sure is my mom talks about you all the time. She tells me you ask about me all the time, and I know, religion serves its purpose in certain times, and I will say that with the advent of COVID, a lot of the prayer phone calls have gone stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
And my mom's met you over the prayer lines to the point where I think the first time I met you was dropping food off all the way from Philadelphia to New Jersey. And
Mhm.
Oh,
so,
that was the first
um,
time.
yeah, and so how are you kind of leveraging or promoting the leverage of your network? Because I will say the prayer line is a powerful village, a powerful network, because in your darkest, a lot of people were there to kind of
Yeah.
support you, lift you up. I mean, you mentioned having lost your mother and your sister within a short time frame. And there was a galvanization. I'm not even sure if that's a word, but we're gonna make it a word.
That is
Um,
that's a word.
That is
okay,
Make
a
it word.
word. That's
right.
the word.
So there was a galvanization around making sure you were taken care of by all means necessary. Talk about how, finding that village and being able to grow with that village. It may not be the the normal village that we would particularly, face to face knowing people. These are just people you met over the phone.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And through
Yeah.
prayer and through sharing exchanges, which is similar to what the Royalty Project is doing, is like over the internet now, right? They're sharing with the children. So talk to us how you came into this village and how it's helped you.
Or
Well,
Katia, can I ask just a prerequisite question? What would you consider your village to be now? I know you said you had a village and you described it in Haiti, but what would you consider your village to be today?
Wait up, wait up. I'm the co-host here. I asked the
I
question.
know, but you're saying how she
I'm
leveraged
just,
it, but I want to
I'm
know
just,
what it is.
I was actually prefaced it, but we're gonna let her go with you. Going, Jackie's taking my job, so Ashley,
I'm
you
not
now have a
taking
new
your
co-host.
job.
No, I'm
guys,
joking. Go
That's
ahead.
all good because I'm trying to take Jackie's job.
guys, it's just a lot of love. I mean, I've met these people, and there's a lot of them I've never met. I don't know them. I've met Paige mom because we went to the retreat together, but
Oh,
there's a lot of them. But I feel like I know them. I feel like I know each and every single one of them. And as far as the love and the support, I mean, it was a lonely time for me, but they show me they always reach out, and sometimes unexpectedly, and I'd be like, I don't want the food, and somebody would just ring the doorbell and bring the food and drop some water and drop it. It's just
Mm.
just surrounding by love, and I felt like, okay, okay, I lost my mom, I lost my sister, they were really my support system, but look at this new community that forms around me. I don't feel, I mean, yeah, the physical separation, I miss them, but I still feel there's so much love. And I feel like I'm just surrounded by all this affection. Everybody's pouring on me. Everybody wants to reach out to see how am I doing, how are my days, what's going on, what's next for me. It is great. And as far as leveraging what you guys are saying, you guys are doing it. It's the conversation. You starting it. You see what was missing in the community, you go for it. And then we empowering our youth by just doing that. Because we don't talk about money and we don't have that love and appreciation for money. Because I know where I came from. We were said, oh, money is not everything. You don't have to, but you have to appreciate it in order to for it to come to you. So you guys are doing that. And education is very powerful. Like I felt like my boys needed that and I go for it. I went for it. And I was looking for a way. I wish I had known about your program earlier. I don't know if Paige had mentioned it, but really, I wish I had known about it. But since you say it's not too late, I'm going to try to see if I could get the boys to join it.
Yay.
Absolutely. It's great and good job, you guys. I have to give you the flowers here. You will be compensated for that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank
I will
you.
keep you guys in prayers. I will keep you in prayers. I
Please,
can pray.
please do.
I think that one of the things we can also do is to insert ourselves in unique spaces. Um, I know that church might not be for everyone, or no, let me go back. So let's say you do go to church. A lot of us go to church on Sunday and then go home and still stick with our same familiar circle. One of the things that I did that I would say changed my life was I decided to go on one of those retreats that you always hear about. It was a men's retreat, and I actually met a brother that I would see going up and down in my building. And one of the things with this whole COVID thing, him and another gentleman that's also a teacher in the building, they took me hiking. Now, in my mind, hiking, like what I said earlier, is like it seems like a white thing to do. But it was the most amazing and relaxing thing to see how, you're just walking through the woods and you see the tree over there, the bush over there, a rabbit running by. They're surviving and they're being taken care of and not worrying about things. Now I'm here stressing over all these different things. I'm going to be good. I'm well.
Mhm.
I'm positioned in the right way. I'm created in a great way, and just having this space to just make sure that my mind is clear and that all that came from was inserting myself into a new space. So in terms of finding those like-minded individuals and then now selecting a common project, you can definitely just insert yourself in places that you don't normally go, especially if there are going to be black faces there, or you have the invitation of one person that you have some familiarity with. You can definitely build that network and that team that'll attack that particular problem, and another team in another space you attack another problem.
Yeah.
And try to find solutions to.
Right. I wanted to
Mhm.
ask another question. So I know earlier, Ramon, you mentioned about how it's not a question that all of the youth are great. It's just that they lack the confidence to like be that greatness, and that's one of the things that the program brings out. How
Mhm.
do you think? I know that that's one of the outcomes of Royalty Project, but how do you think we can overcome feeling insufficient because we as a community don't like to ask for help?
Hmm.
Um, with regard to what I do, I'm not going to necessarily speak about the Royalty Project, but
Mm-hmm.
um, you have to just be observant and sometimes just offer it. Sometimes people won't ask, but if you look
Mhm.
closely enough, you see that they need it, and just they may not accept it the first time you offer it, but
Mm-hmm.
they're informed that you're there if they need it in another moment. And I think that's something that can be done.
Okay.
Mm.
So
You know,
I want to add. I want to add a part two to that. Well, a different side to that. You know, there are people that pride and ego prevents them from reaching out to their village. How do we open the space? You know, and it's hard to tell who those people are. How do we make the space available for people to not feel as that they're insufficient for asking help?
It's really, 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 really hard because everything in society teaches us. America pushes this idea of a meritocracy. And that is the reason why a lot of these people, when they're falling on hard times, people who haven't ever like seen anybody good fall on hard times, they don't want to expose that they've fallen on hard times. And this is why the friendship in the community is so important. Because when we're friends, we've already shared spaces that have made that vulnerability okay. Like I can tell you if I'm going through some stuff. Like you can tell me if you're going, like just in conversation. So now I know you don't even have to ask me for help because we're just talking about how are you doing. But it's not a hey, what's up? You know. But as just a greeting, I really want to know what's up. So like I said, this what we're doing now and practicing this, even amongst the muggles of the world, is what's going to make that easier. And also, I want to talk about something really quickly because I wanted to talk about it a long time ago, and then it was one of those 50-50 thoughts, but I think it was the most important thing. It's this idea of humility that's pushed in a meritocracy, right? Because in a meritocracy, if you're doing well, that's because you're great. But yet, they push this idea of humility on us. But for what? The only reason why anybody should ever be humble is if you don't actually believe in yourself. But if you do believe in yourself, and we understand that speaking words is speaking power, why are we limiting the ability to speak about our greatness? My greatness doesn't necessarily mean that you're not great, but just because you're insecure about your greatness, that also doesn't mean that I should have to not talk about my greatness. Everybody's their own favorite subject. So I think opening the space allows us to do all of that. And then sometimes maybe it's your friends. You know, I'd be able to tell my friends sometimes. They'd be like, yeah, you know, like I just did this or I just did that. And I'm like, you know how much I hate the word just? Especially when they be talking about monumental things.
Little our own accomplishments.
Yeah, like and I think because this idea of humility is pushed on us to a point that it's unhealthy. Because you guys need to know, you guys, Jackie and Ramon, you guys need to know that what the Royalty Project is doing is monumental and can literally change. Yeah, like that, but that's what I'm saying.
We are in full awareness that we are making history. We are in full awareness of that, and that's why we're so intentional about it.
And that's what I'm saying. I can see how intentional you guys are. I know that. You guys know that. I'm just saying, for example, but look at knowing how important it is and knowing how important you are to this. Look at the space that it's put you in. Look how diligent you are. Look how like you got all the every T crossed, all the I's dotted, because you know. You don't take this as just something that, you know, everybody goes to school, so I just go to school. You know? Like, so you need to understand. Like, I tell my nieces the truth all the time. You're great. This school system isn't good enough for you. Don't worry about that. Just get through it. You got to go through it anyway. It sucks. And you know what her least favorite subject is? History. She's a black woman who wants to learn an old white man. She
doesn't see herself in that history. She doesn't see herself in that history.
Exactly.
But we shouldn't expect that. And I think that's another thing that people because the second dispelling and we're revealing missing history throughout the whole thing. But missing history is a specific session. And there's a lot of people that's like, it's just so awful that this is not taught in schools. This is not awful that it's not taught in schools. Why would we expect anyone other than our community to educate our youth about how great we are? Why would we even expect that? Why would we even anticipate that you would go to a public school or a school that's not based and rooted in your community and expect your youth to learn about themselves, their history, their ancestors, their abilities, their capabilities, and their greatness?
Other ethnic groups do it outside of their schools. They go to Hebrew school. They go to learn the Asian language, whatever Asian language.
They have culture courses in which they learn about their history and they learn about their culture and their principles and what their journey is that led them to where they are today. And they also use that as an empowerment tool so that they continue to build their community from within and they continue to create economic opportunities, growth, expansion. They do it on their own in their own silos. So this is what we're doing. And actually, this is the vision of the Royalty Project, to become the official culture class of Black young youth in America.
Wow.
That's right.
Everywhere.
Talk that talk. You know what I'm saying? You talk about,
we need to educate our own children. We need to tell them how great they are. We need to tell them that they have space to be whatever they want to be. We need to spend more time with them. There are a lot of us that don't have children. A lot of the mentors don't have children or don't have children within the program age. And the fact that these children don't have visibility to us and we don't have visibility to them affects our lives. It affects our lives when we don't have youth in it. Youth create that reverse mentoring is a thing. It's the thing. Young people have not been told no. Young people have not been beaten down. Young people have not had the boxes that we create for ourselves as adults. When we spend more time with young people, we are willing to take more risks. We are willing to be bolder. We are willing to be braver. Whenever I'm a scaredy cat, I don't like scary movies. I don't like things that go bump in the dark, all of that. But if I have my godchildren and my nieces and nephews with me, I am fearless. There is no fear. It's something about having a child around that reminds you about the protection that you need to have for them, one, and then two, it creates a space for you to be fearless. I went natural because I started mentoring younger girls and they were like, you relaxing your hair, Miss Jackson? You relaxing your, like, it was like, you're right. I want everything when I show up, if I don't say one word, I want you to know I enjoy being Black. I enjoy it. I want to show up in a space and you already know I don't even have to say anything to you. Being Black is a part of me that I am proud of, that I love, that I enjoy. And I got that understanding by spending time with you.
I just got triggered. I need a minute. I need a minute.
You triggered again?
I feel like you talked the whole time.
No. But it's them though. They be doing. I'm literally crying right now. I'm not even gonna. No.
Come on, go ahead, Copeland.
Nah, because like what you're saying is so important to me because of what my son has done to me. Like he has made just by his existence, not even with the stuff that you're talking about, like just his existence. And then what you are talking about, it's so real because right now I just finally gave in to my friends who told me to watch Naruto. And I'm watching it, and like one of the central like concepts in that is exactly what you're talking about. This young kid who's portrayed as not even that smart, but all it is just that he's not book smart. So he was never taught his limitations. He has brought out things in the adults who are like Joni, like these are high level ninjas, and he is able to bring those things out. And the reason why I'm like tearing up is because I have become a better, like I was dope before I had a kid. Like I thought I was pretty solid for everything that I wanted. I was straight. But when I got him, I have like this new ability to learn and process things, and I'm becoming like even more political. Like I've only really slipped up almost twice and cursed. And for me, that's amazing. Like the ability to like stay in a space. And I know, Paige said I was kind of talking a lot, but is you guys trigger me, and that's kind of why I think that's exactly why he brought me here with his uber manipulative Hannibal from the 18th. So,
Oh yeah, he is a master manipulator.
I just like you said, like I almost feel like after everything that you guys say, I have to take a minute to say how important and how beautiful it is to know that there is somebody somewhere else actually thinking and working on this thing. Because it feels when you don't have that community, these thoughts that you have, and then like when you do have friends you can talk to, we're busy. We don't get to talk every day. So
Yeah.
it's inspiring now for me to know that like my decision to homeschool my son is the right way to go. Like to teach him to make sure he has access to money so he knows how to use it, but to understand about health. Like and the fact that I'm looking for other parents with kids. Like he has a friend because I literally, even though I don't like people at all, I understand how important it is for humans in general to still have that sense of community. So
Yeah.
even though I don't want to, because I feel like I could be self-sufficient, I'm still looking to develop a community for him so that he understands that, because this right here is like, this is it. This is it. This is it right here. And y'all are amazing, and I'm just happy I could get to be here with my trucker self.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining. This has been a dope conversation. Ashley, you put together a great group of people.
Thanks,
And so
Ashley.
kudos to Ashley for making this happen. And we really want to thank you all for jumping on and telling your truths, your personal truths, your experiences, because you never know who else has been going through what you're going through, and you can give them a glimmer of hope, right? From the Royalty Project to Truck Driving Copeland to Sister Katia, you guys give people a real look as to what they can see within themselves as going through these. And once again, kudos to Ashley for putting together this platform, because one of the things that we don't do enough are have the discussions that allow us to heal, instead of continuing passing down generational trauma. So with that said, thank you, Ashley. And either Ramona, Jackie, if you guys can kind of tell us where people can find the Royalty Project, and any important information that we may need to know, so that they can sign up and get their kids together.
They can visit the website at www.theroyaltyproject.org. What should pop up first is an application, a link for an application. So you can apply to have your youth 10 to 14, or a mature 9-year-old, or a well-behaved 15-year-old. Can definitely be a part of our crew. If you'd like to be a mentor, we have same thing. Go to our mentor our webpage and go to events, and you'll see an opportunity to sign up to be a mentor there as well.
Okay.
Our first session is this Saturday. So let's make a move quickly. But we're still excited.
I just want to make one note too, that we have, this is a virtual cycle, but we learned that we need to have tangible aspects of the cycle. So in advance of the cycle, we send each youth a royal package. It's a black package with gold writing sent to them, addressed to the youth. And they get a t-shirt, which Ashley is wearing right now. I think Ramon is wearing the t-shirt as well, a logo tee, so that they already know they down with the crown. They get 7 energy crystals, and the 7 energy crystals align with the energy that we want to manifest in each session. They also receive some stickers, some branding stickers. There you go. You got your royal package, Ashley. 7 energy crystals that align with all of the sessions, all of the weeks. And then they also receive a journal so that they can journal their experience. We also ask mentors to journal their experience as well. And then at the end of this amazing 7-week journey, we show at the crowning ceremony, which is their rites of passage graduation ceremony, we show a 10-minute documentary, like a cycle documentary of their journey. So we record every session. We also asked the parents to record them in different spaces at different times. And we put that all together for a cycle documentary. If you want a really good glimpse and look at what we've done in the past in our cycles, you can go to the website and events also. And there is a link to all of the cycle documentaries. But I definitely, everyone listening, everyone on this call, please go and watch the cycle documentary from fall. It's a 10-minute preview, review, capture of what happened between the first session all the way down to the last session. And what's amazing is what the youth experience on this journey. A lot of them come to us shy, camera shy, not wanting to talk, really not engaging in a way. But then once they get through a couple of sessions and all the way down to self-expression, these people are just amazing, very creative, artistic, wanting to share, got their hands up. I want to talk next. I want to talk next. It's an incredible journey. And we ask the question when they start the cycle, what does it mean to be Black? And then we ask the same question at the end of the cycle. And the differences is vast. The differences in the response is so that, like, they are able to articulate what it means to them. And not only what it means to be Black, but what it means to be a confident person, self-assured. We talk about during the crowning, the crown that they earn and the crown that they inherit. As Black people, we inherit this royalty, but it's also up to us to continue to be fit to wear the crown, meaning that you are kind to others, that you exist in a space in a communal way, that you are just, that you are fair, and that you make sure you look out for your fellow royal court, that you look out for your tribe. It's an incredible experience.
Awesome.
Wait, where's the application? I can't find the application.
Well, we got you after this, Copeland.
There's no mentor application, Copeland. Are you signing up your 10 to 14-year-old?
I identify as a 10 to 14-year-old.
Is there a fee? Is there a fee for the program?
No, it's free.
It's free.
Yeah.
And what's
We
the
raise
maximum
funds. We
allowance?
raise funds in order to make it free for the participants.
Okay. How many attendees do you have?
So right now we have 35 signed up, and we have space for 5 more. And then we have that many mentors rotating through each week.
Oh, okay. So the maximum allowance is how many? 40 capacity?
40.
Oh.
So as long as no one else jumps to it in the next couple of minutes, I get an alert when we get a new application. And so we're actually 46 now. So there are 4 more spaces. So
I got you, sister.
Actually, if I get 2 more, I'm gonna close the application just so we have 2 more spots available for your sons, Ketia.
Okay. Yes. And they meet every Saturday?
Yes.
Every Saturday for 6 weeks. And then we skip Memorial Day weekend so that we can create this cycle documentary. And then the crowning is on June 5th. And in the crowning, it's on Saturdays from 11 to 2. And during the crowning, we ask the royal youth to invite their family members and parts of their tribe to see the journey that they've gone on. It's like their graduation. It's their rites of passage.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And they're invited to receive their crown. And so we send custom crowns to every youth who has completed at least 5 of the 6 sessions. At least 5 of the 6 sessions in order to graduate. We send them a custom crown with their names on it, and it includes the jewels the jewels for each session. Each session has a jewel attached to it. So you get your crown that's custom with the jewels that you attended for those sessions. And you accept your crown. Go ahead.
Do the jewels still associate with an Indicra symbol as well, or have you guys
Each
are not?
session has an Adinkra symbol attached to it. So, for instance, for Missing History is Sankofa. Every single session has an energy crystal and an Adinkra symbol attached to it.
Awesome. So we definitely would love to keep going on, but we want to wrap this up a little bit. So, Sister Katia, where can people find you? What do you have going on, so that we can push people towards your financial? I forgot what you said you were doing.
Credit restoration.
Credit
So
restoration.
company.
So,
So
how
I'm
can people find you?
at my name, Katia Dolphin. I'm on Instagram and I'm also on Facebook.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Copeland. Where can we find you? What do you have going on?
Say that one more time.
So as we close, we would like to just kind of reiterate, where can people find you? What do you have going on?
Oh, people can't find me. People can't. Yeah, I mean,
So Copeland will be a mentor.
He said he hates people.
Copeland will be a mentor at the Royalty Project session coming to the near future, right?
Yeah, I mean, only
I'm
because
sure.
on social media, I have different personalities, you know. So I've got my brown neck truck driver personality, you know, and then I have my father personality with my kid, and then I play the fake intellect when I'm on stage or on TV. But on Facebook, I'm like something completely different.
Okay.
Yeah. So
with that being said, thank you all. We appreciate your participation. And please, if you enjoyed this, feel free to like, comment, share, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe.
Wow.
Bye, everybody.
It was a